Hey YouTube, welcome back to Unix TCG, and today we are going to be doing a set 2.5 tier list now that I've done all my testing that I feel like I need to do to make some confident takes in this meta. With that being said, let's get this video up to 100 likes, and a couple of announcements I want to get out of the way is just we are going to be starting streaming on the client again on the 11th when the new ban list drops, so make sure you pay attention to the channel to know the schedule for that. We're also on Universe X Gaming and Twitch, gonna restart our gaming streams now that I'm full-time content creation. So welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts playthrough. We are currently on Chain of Memories. Past that, we are still doing Dokkan, Legends, Sparking Zero, manga, and Daima content over on UniXDB, and I'll be giving away 2 copies of Sparking Zero as long as we're monetized by October, with more copies on the way if we get 1,000 subscribers or more over that threshold. And then lastly, if you ever want my personal deck list, want to have a say in what comes up on the channel and whatnot, you can always join the Patreon, where we are still in the process of having people sign up for the Top 64 Vegeta giveaway, which is our giveaway for July. We'll have a new one in August, so yeah, I hope you guys join up, see that content, help support the brand, and yeah, let's get into the content. So let us get into it. The tiers we have here are formerly known as the Ginyu tier, because spoiler alert, Ginyu is no longer in his weird tier of just being odd. Competitive, because yeah, this is a triangle format for the most part. If both players are at even skill or playing optimally, there aren't going to be a terrible amount of leeway between you and your bad matchups. That's just something that's gonna have to be said. So a lot of decks are gonna be in competitive. Wild cards are some decks that definitely have the ability to be oppressive, but don't always have the consistency, because if they had that consistency, they would be up here at Z tier no matter what. And we'll explain that. It's not just deck consistency, it's also matchup consistency. Then you've got the best builds for best picks for topping, and those are the ones I think have a balance between just their consistency as well as their power utility. And then you have Z, which will be reserved for a deck, maybe 2, that I think is slightly a cut above the rest. So with that being said, let us get into it. And the first pick I'm gonna choose here is Topku. Topku is just 100% going in the formerly known as Ginyu tier. This leader just took the biggest beating for, I'm not gonna say no reason, but the format was being pinned down under him. People could not play the decks that they wanted to play with him in the format, and that leads to people wanting him gone. My thoughts on him personally was that I think he was oppressive to a lot of different decks in the game. I think that in the mirror, he was a very skillful mirror for the most part. Glimpse was the one kind of wrench in that plan. But now you have the fact that as of the ban list, with Roshi ban, Ribrianne ban, and Kefla down to 1, you have its biggest main game driver being Kefla limited to 1. You have the ability to control your awakening consistently down to 0 in Roshi, and you have your ability to cheese people out of their end games in Ribrianne behind Glimpse, well, with Glimpse behind her, down to 0 as well. So this leader literally lost power in every stage of the game and is just no longer competitive. Like, no red leader is going to feel worse than Topku right now. So he goes over in the formerly known as Ginyu tier. So now that spoiler is done, we can actually just change this to the Topku tier. Okay, now that we're past that, let's go over to Zamasu. Zamasu, I will say, is going to be in competitive. Zamasu has built-in defense to like decks like the go wide decks. Once it flips over, you're gonna have a hard time doing as much damage with decks like going wide and yellow strategies, or a very aggressive red. Now his green matchup can kind of suffer, but that's going to be very player dependent. I don't personally feel like Zamasu should be at any point thought favored into green, but I do know that everybody plays differently, and Zamasu does have his healing. So green isn't generally going to force Zamasu to flip over early, allowing Zamasu to establish the hand and resources that it needs by the time it does flip over, provide a 25k body that Gallic Gun can go up to 40k just on a whim, and then on top of that, you're going to have your healing factor, so whenever you go down too low, you can bring your life back. So I do think that Zamasu is in competitive, However, I do think that where Zamasu can really get hurt is when decks understand the philosophy of Zamasu. When you press a blue deck outside of its correct numbers, that 7-card hand gets beat on very fast. And the thing is, yes, they'll start going up to 8, they'll start going up to 9, but when that happens, while they have more resources like their sickles, their absolute lightnings, their combo power, they do not have the ability to turn on their cards with the 7 or less threshold without going low on hand or overextending inside of like a combo step or something. And when this happens, you're going to be able to potentially push. Certain decks have the ability to push blue into a very early awakening, and with any other blue leader, that's fine. Trunks just starts going up in utility when that happens. Vegeta starts being able to shell out massive damage when that happens. Zamasu stops drawing. So I think that, and then once he stops drawing, it becomes even harder to recover if your opponent knows how to combo correctly versus blue. So while I do think Zamasu is competitive, that's just as far as he's going here. Cell, I am not gonna hold you. This guy is probably, in my opinion, at the bottom of competitive. I know he has like a lot of good points to him, but like I said, the triangle is fairly set. Aggressive yellow generally waxes green. Green generally waxes blue. And blue generally waxes yellow. Now, there are some stipulations, and different builds can provide different results, but that's generally where the mechanical spread is. And when you look at Cell, the issue with Cell is that Cell has to, you have to look at decks at this point of how many matchups they are in a disadvantageous spot in. And Cell is actually at a disadvantageous spot to a fair amount of them. When you look at their natural enemy, Yellow, Cell is a 20k leader and will get pelted by Yellow. Pelted by the Ginyu Force based Yellow. On top of that, you have to be able to, generally the biggest boon of him is being able to play Cell Games Arena. So you have more extra cards in this deck than you do generally in other green decks. So the 20k spam is really going to get to you. And even when you start playing Cell, I mean, a good yellow player should be teching at least 2 to 3 of the 3-drop Vegetas at minimum. And once you know that they're about to get to their turn 8 or their 8 energy play where they can finally play Cell and start recovering life, you just slam Vegeta down on the board and swing with him too. And now your yellow opponent or your green opponent, your Cell deck, you're sitting here not being able to destroy anything, so you can tap 8 to gain 1 life and swing on something with your leader, swing on something with the Cell. They'll just let whatever gets swung on with the Cell die, unless you're swinging on the Vegeta, in which case, like, protect it at all costs. You're probably very low on hand just trying to stay alive, and then you get ran over. Past that, even in your best matchup, which should be blue, certain blue decks can be aggressive. That's why if I had to say, I'd say that the gap between blue and green is a lot less than the gap between aggressive yellow and green, things like that. You have a weakness to Zeno. Once your opponent casts the first Zeno, you have to have negative plays in hand to reestablish your Cell Games Arena. So this is just a point where it feels really bad to Cell Games Arena. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Like, there's nothing really else to say about that. Like, it just does not feel that great to get Zeno'd when you're not in a winning position. If blue keeps their life up, and Cell's not really the most aggressive deck, if blue keeps their life up, then that's just pretty much that. You sell them, and then they arena you, or they Zeno you, your arena goes, and then you have to start playing 8-drop raw or sacrifice an entire turn to playing arena. And if they get rid of that the same turn, they're just like, okay, well, that kind of sucks too. So yeah, I put him actually at the bottom competitive. I'm not gonna hold you there. When it comes to Vegeta, I'm going to actually put Vegeta up here in best picks for topping. I like Vegeta a lot. Yellow is a very strong color right now. And yes, it does have an inherent weakness to blue Sinister Sickles, their Vegetos, their Zenos even. But this deck not only has all the strengths of yellow, but it actually has a very strong yellow mirror match as well, because, well, Frieza untaps cards, which is very good for the yellow, kind of deal. Vegeta is going to, well, yellow taps down cards, And Frieza can't untap them with his leader skill because that's just not how that works. The end of the turn is the end of the turn. So when it comes to that, Vegeta is at a very nice place because a yellow versus yellow mirror match will force you into the combo step. If both of you guys are playing Vegetas, you'll automatically have no choice but to swing over people's stuff. And even if you're not playing Vegetas, 9 times out of 10, unless Cooler's on the board to start ruining people's days, you're going to be struggling for board. Yeah, you're going to be struggling for board, but you're going to be doing that by pressure. And Vegeta, with the untapping and the extra cards, is going to alleviate a lot of pressure. I'm going to Death Ball and stop this attack and then pin or tap that so it can attack on me too. All sorts of things that are going to make the yellow mirror match harder for the player that is not playing Vegeta. On top of that, he is going to be able to still run aggressive packages and play against green. He's going to better protect your board from threats when they do have to swing because Vegeta's there. His matchup versus blue is not better than anything else, but he has a better matchup, I believe, into he has like a lot of utility in the places where yellow is forcing your opponents to play. So I put Vegeta up here at best picks for topping. The next one is going to be this one, U7 Goku. U7 Goku is going to be very, very, very nice. He is a very honest leader. There's nothing cheatsy about him. He's not playing cards for free, but what he is doing is applying very strong pressure. Your 3-drop SR Gokus are 30k swingers that can pop something. Your Android 17s are 30k attackers that buff your leader that can't be destroyed by common effects, that can't be destroyed by green effects. So you build up a board of those and your opponent has to just start swinging on them because they can't pop them once you're awakened. He's going to be able to do a lot of pressure, and most importantly, you have access to 4 Glimpse, which is a game changer. Glimpse will turn random cards into 55k attackers while he's awakened. Glimpse will turn things like 1-drop Frieza into a 50k attacker without using the 10k that you get back from Glimpse. U7 Goku is just a very, very, very good deck. And the best part about it is that it has no bad matchups really, but it doesn't have any comfortable matchups. Like, that is where red is currently. No match feels like, oh yeah, I got this in the bag because I'm red. But you never with red really feel like, oh crap, I auto lost because I'm red. So that's the boon for it. That's your fair deck of the format. It's gonna take a lot of skill, and yeah, that's where that one is. Now I'm gonna choose Beerus. Beerus I have to put in competitive, mainly because what Beerus is going to be able to do is provide the critical pressure. It has enough self-awakeners to never be stuck anymore. You can't stall Beerus. However, Beerus is not as fast as U7, and it certainly was never as fast as Topku, and it feels Kefla's loss just as badly as Topku does. And you're just at a point where before, Kefla into 3-drop Gohan provided you with minus 25k on the board. You can soften the board, you can swing on the board, you can auto remove something while focusing all your attacks on your opponent's leader. You can't do that anymore, reliably. And so now you're stuck with paying for, you know, your board full price. You might have to run some more extras to get there. He can be aggressive, but he's not being more aggressive than Topku. Now what he does gain is a better yellow matchup. You can 100% influence the board better with Beerus, allowing yourself not to have to turn all of your your face pressure into board pressure, because you can start removing things by effect, and that is a valid point to see with Beerus. However, Beerus is slow enough for Beerus is slower, and therefore by being slower, by having less combo power, by having more cards just you know, for the sake of lowering power, Beerus is definitely going to give green decks the time to stabilize. It's going to happen at times. Beerus is also going to allow blue decks to breathe a little bit more. So with that being said, while he has a good red matchup, while he has a decent yellow matchup, while he can throw hands with blue, while he can throw hands with green, he also can at times let green and blue stabilize, and that does not let me put him in best picks for topping. Now I've got Trunks. We're gonna be testing with Trunks a lot more because I've always been a Trunks fan and I want more on him, but Trunks is at a space where Trunks is going to be able to do the things that Blue wants to do in terms of Sickle, Absolute Lightning. He's going to be able to combo very well the Blue 1-for-1 curse, where you can't 1-for-1 Blue. It just doesn't really work that way. So aggro into Trunks is going to have a hard time because of his ability to recycle cards, never have his Peel-Off Chain broken, Blue's staples in terms of destruction, but he also can have some very, very pressing turns where you just Harumaki, bounce Harumaki, and attack and combo, and that's a 50k leader swing that you pretty much just have to come out of hand or take. In the moment you get on the 1 energy, or 1 life, you know how Blue operates. So Trunks is definitely sitting here at the best picks for topping for me. He's a very solid deck, he just might require more input than what most people are recognizing, or used to really. Next, I'm sorry that came up. Next, you've got Goku Black, and I'm putting him directly into wild cards. Goku Black has a God roll that is more consistent than it ever has been before, but it is still a God roll. And just to put it back, I was playing a match against my homie Doug. If you guys don't remember his B or his profile in North Carolina for top 8. And I opened up Godly, double my Zamasu's, everything. The only thing I didn't have was Goku Black, and I did not see Goku Black for 2 or 3 more turns despite digging in my deck, and he was able to stabilize and come back with his Android deck. And we both acknowledge, like when he saw me set up, he was like, I am cooked, because he thought he was getting Goku Blacked on 3 energy and a marker. And I just simply didn't have it. And if I had that Goku Black, that game would have been cooked, because I just would have been, like, I would have put it on the board 3 turns before he could actually deal with it. 3 or 4 turns before he could deal with it at the very minimum, and then it just would have been a steamroll from there. But that's the craziest part. I saw so many cards. I dug so deeply. I played double my. I awoken to dig deeper, started swinging, forsook the crit to see a couple cards deeper in my deck, and that's still where it got me. So, yeah, you gotta be careful about that. It's just one of those decks that is going to sometimes get you where it hurts in terms of not being able to actually see the exact pieces you need, because at the end of the day, Goku Black is still a 4 of. It's as simple as that. He's still a 4 that you need to see to have your optimal roll. So real quick, let's have a quick word from our sponsors, and then we are going to get right back into this tier list. Alright y'all, taking a quick moment to shout out the sponsors for this video. First up is Mystic TCG, a store based in Missouri that sells all sorts of TCG product, even more than what you see featured here on this page. They also buy singles, collections, and prize cards, so make sure you actually catch them out in their store in Missouri at an event, or even on their Facebook, just to be able to see the events here, but also ask them what they're up to and what they're looking for in terms of vending. You can also use the code UNIXTCG to get discounts off your pre-orders as well as orders, so make sure you get your TCG product while it's hot. Then you have Eclipse Cards and Hobby based out of Texas, and if that sounds familiar, they did sponsor me with a box of Fusion World Set 1. But as you can see on this page, there is a plethora of TCG products that they are actually having for sale at their establishment. You can also even buy things that aren't just TCG products. As you can see on the screen right here, they hold their own locals, they hold their own events, and they are going out to more and more events. You can actually check their Facebook to see their schedule, as well as call and ask about their vending list. And at the checkout for their website, you can use the code UNI10X to actually get percentages off your pre-orders or your orders. So go check it out as well. And we're always up to all sorts of things in Universe X, so you can go down the description and check the link tree to find out about my other channels, my Twitch, or any other avenues that I'm creating content on. But if you want to go the extra mile, you can always go down to any description on any video and find my Amazon affiliate links. These products here will differ from video to video to cater to the audience in question, but it's just very easy to see something that you may like or be interested in, open it up, and choose the style and or color that'll work for you. All proceeds will give kickbacks to the channel, so there'll be some direct support, and I'll always appreciate the help from you guys. So with that being said, let's get back to the video. 2 great stores, lots of great savings. Check out the links in the description to find out not more just about them, but about all the different corners of Universe X. And with that being said, let's get back to the tier list. So moving on, we've got Gohan. Now Gohan is one of those decks that I am kind of in a weird space about. The thing is about him, bias aside, the 3-drop Goku is the only way Green has to really get rid of 3-cost Vegeta without spending their entire turn, and that in himself makes him one of the better decks for Green. However, their Currently, it's just very strange to see how the 20k spam works against green. Like, it's just a matter of you don't have enough cards in hand to generally stay alive, and Senzu Bean is a card that if you play 4 of, it's significantly weaker in other matchups. So playing 4 of them is very strange, but playing more of them is also, or playing less is also not conducive to being able to see it when you need to against yellow. So all in all, you're sitting at this point where if you aren't, like, you might have to play 3 to 4 Senzus just to not die to yellow, and even then, Senzu doesn't take care of you until you're awakened as a 20k leader. You need to be at 20k to go up to 25 to force them to combo. And if they're doing that, I guess the strategy at that point is just to let the attacks hit and then just play Senzu Bean. But I think that green needs a little bit of work because at the moment it is criminally weak to yellow. Now we're gonna go over to androids, and this is the first green deck that's gonna go right up here. Androids don't have a way to get over Vegeta, but androids do have the ability to play some of the best cards in green without like sacrificing anything. While they don't have Cell Games Arena, they are able to consistently use Dr. Dro's lab to get up so high on energy that they can still play cells back to back. They still have the ability to drop these bombs. They have the 4-drop Android 1718, which allows you to go wide while still having energy up to play other things. You can play 17 in the Dr. Dro's lab in the same turn and not have a dead turn of just doing that. So yeah, this is a very, very, very good leader, and being offensively 3,000 without having to do anything else is fun. Or sorry, 30,000, because 30,000 is a great number to press with. It requires 2 cards from your opponent or a super combo or an extra card, so we are definitely here for that. Then we're gonna go for Cooler. Cooler is actually going in the top 2 here. I'm sorry, you hate to see it, but this deck got nothing for it. Every other yellow deck has more, like, just better options, better reasons to play them than this deck does. That's just pretty much that. You're not drawing on your front side. The critical pressure in yellow really doesn't matter because you're not really worried about those 2-3 cards that they have to drop or take as crit, because you're just trying to flood them in general. And when you flood somebody, you need options to play to flood somebody. So yeah, this leader just really does fall behind. Because yellow is such a strong color, I am going to put him above top 2, but he's still in the top 2 tier. Then when it comes to Ginyu, Ginyu is going right in at that wild card setting. It's hard to tell whether or not one of these is ahead of the other, because the thing about Ginyu is Ginyu has some of the most destructive push turns in the game. You're able to sometimes swing 12, 13 times in a row, and that is so strong. But at the same time, to achieve this, what you're normally doing is attacking with your leader, building up your field, and then pausing. Not swinging with anything, because you don't want to risk it getting destroyed to take away. Because, like, if you think about it this way, every attack on your board counts as 2 attacks for the most part if they're Ginyu and your leader is unflipped and you have the resources. So the moment you turn a Ginyu card sideways, like, you can turn your Vegeta sideways, you can turn any non-Ginyu card sideways, but the moment you turn a Ginyu Force sideways, if they destroy that, they got rid of 2 attacks, not 1. So you're sitting here and not attacking with the full totality of your board. And what that allows to happen is blue to have more breathing room to set up their sickles, to resolve their Vegetos. It allows red to sometimes get a big enough board to where they can resolve some of these clearings. You can have these times where a Beerus plays a 3-drop Gohan, minuses 10 to everything, and then attacks into something that you did turn sideways, kills it, and then they minus 10 to another Ginyu Force to also kill that. So you really have these opportunities for decks with high removal to disrupt your field before it can happen. But in the terms of, like, green, you really just have to build up your field before they can play androids and make sure a Vegeta's there, and you will actually destroy their, like, just hand to pieces. Just run over them. This deck can get off some crazy turns. You just have to be very careful. If you do want to sleeve up Ginyu, please be aware that you need to pay attention to what decks you're playing, what removal you've seen them charge, and you need to attack accordingly. Do not get caught holding on to your attacks for the big payoff to have your field wiped and have no payoff. Then we're over to the starter deck leaders, and I'm going to put Starter Coup over here in competitive. Realistically, he is a good deck. He still can abuse Glimpse. He still has all the good cards that red does. But the issue is he is not as aggressive as 7-Ku, and he doesn't provide the removal that Beerus does. So as a red leader, while he is sturdy because of red's general card pool, he does not do the same things that Beerus or U7 do. So while he's in competitive, I'm not putting him any higher than that. Vegeta goes straight up to best picks for topping. He has all the abilities of blue, maining Sickle, maining Zeno, maining Absolute Lightning, so we can remove some of the best targets in the game. Bottom decking has no real outs except for a couple Zamasu cards, things like that. And on top of that, and I think, the 5-drop Gohan when it protects his 3 drops. But on top of that, once he does awaken, he pushes for damage that demands 2 cards or a super combo every single turn, or select extra cards. So he pushes pressure with his leader alone. He got even better than for doing that once we got the Bulmas and whatnot. He can abuse Pilaf, and on top of that, he has Blue's signature removal. So he is very, 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 very good. In fact, I would likely put Vegeta up here. He's got a lot of things going for him in the best picks for topping tier. Then as Broly, a lot of people may not agree with this. I'm gonna put Broly over here. I'm gonna put Broly at in the best picks for topping, and in some cases, I might actually put him here. Now, Broly's weakness really does come from his green mirror matches. He has a bigger base body, and so the 20k spam does not work against him, especially if you start throwing in cards like Senzu Bean. Now, on top of that, like I was saying in a previous video, like when I was breaking down green in set 2.5, you really do have to worry about the fact that Broly, he going down 1 life just to awaken, he is susceptible to an extreme push backed by extra cards, followed by a double strike backed by whatever you have to throw on top of it. He is extremely vulnerable to that. However, most green decks are being eaten up by yellow decks. And on that note, Broly, who doesn't have to maybe see, if you win a couple times, you may not have to see as many green decks. And if you don't have to see as many green mirrors, then he has built-in safety versus the aggro matchups that are hurting those green leaders, and he has a good matchup into blue, and he can ball pretty much with the best of them. So I would say that Broly right here is definitely green's best pick right now. I know lots of people want to be on androids, but it's just like androids versus Frieza is just so rough. Androids versus aggressive Vegeta deck is just so rough. Androids versus Ginyu is so rough. So yeah, that's just why I have him here. Then Frieza, I am going to right here and now put Frieza in Z tier. He is not further ahead of these decks by leaps and bounds, but when it comes to this, the only matchup that he supremely so blue is still a weakness for Frieza, yes, but the only matchup outside of blue where Frieza doesn't seem to have at least a 50-50 really is like nothing. Like, blue is going to be able to sickle, Zeno, protect itself, get rid of the board, whittle down the hand, and that's going to be Frieza's biggest enemy. But when it comes to these other matchups, Frieza can put the pressure on green early game, and then if you're a 20k, Frieza can just press that pressure into the grave. If you're a Broly, then Frieza also has a nice top end. Vegeta plus 6 cost Frieza is almost GG for a green deck. That is not kosher at all. Then you have the ability that it can tap down the board. So when it fights for board versus the green and red decks and fellow yellow decks, you have a back and forth war of locking down boards and keeping it that way. So yeah, I definitely feel like Frieza is 100%. If I had to choose a deck to say is the most well-rounded in its matchups, it would be Frieza. But of course, being a triangle meta, I do think that Frieza still has its downsides facing its worst matchup, which is blue. So yeah, let's tie up the video and then move on from there. So yeah, that is my thoughts on the current tier list. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Let me guys know how you guys feel you're testing, and we're gonna explore the tier 2.5, the set 2.5 format until we get set 3 in August. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. Later.